There's a conspiracy that's so intricate that it's gained a cult following.
That the Simpsons predicted everything? It's because it's true.
I've heard of it, and so have you, but it's getting out of hand. 9 months ago, a post appeared on Reddit. It asks the question, does the Simpsons predict the future?
Just imagine that we're NPCs of a PlayStation 5 of a higher civilization. They might be controlling us, and our thoughts might be commands of the game. Maybe our will is not free. We may not have free will. What's up, Smosh?
From predicting the 2020 election of Donald Trump to Lady Gaga's Super Bowl halftime show, the question...
How can China reveal 2 steel jets, 1 drone, and a bomber, and all of them are stealth? Because China is working on shifting gears, and they're trying to become the #1 superpower in 19 years.
This post has been asked many times. Something really bothered me about this post, with 0 upvotes. The responses to the latter half. It was a catastrophic flood of deranged theories, responses based around the idea of a new world order, explaining that The Simpsons is the vessel used by the ruling elite to tell us
What?
what's coming.
What?
With 0 upvotes. The responses to the latter half. It was a catastrophic flood of deranged theories, responses based around the idea of a new world order, explaining that The Simpsons is the vessel used by the ruling elite to tell us what's coming. And it wasn't just this thread. The dialogue is everywhere. The show's creator is a Freemason, Jeffrey Epstein, September 11th. These theories are endless, but they still leave the question open. The predictions. How are they doing it?
You've probably heard the conspiracy theory that The Simpsons can predict everything about the future.
Who are the world's greatest
accurate predictions?
Actually predicted the future?
Some of these predictions are clearly surface level. Others are alarmingly sophisticated.
I think, honestly, the writers of The Simpsons are looking back and are able to look at the world and have fun and poke at the world. And sometimes, most oftentimes, the truth is stranger than fiction. So when they're just logically putting things down the line, they're like, oh my God, this can actually kind of happen. And they put it in the show. And then guess what? It actually happens.
So for the past 4 months, we've been searching for an answer, one that will finally satisfy us. We listened to common theories and we had assumptions of our own. We went the extra
got back
mile,
from playing
collecting
badminton?
data that
Hell
we
yeah.
couldn't find on the internet, hiring statisticians
Fiction has some truth too? Absolutely.
and interviewing experts. At times, it felt ridiculous. But when we ran the numbers, one explanation stood above the rest.
Coincidences, Beer Bicep also predicted Trump's assassination with the Abit Chavad video. Yeah, we saw that one on YouTube. I have it on YouTube where it was like a year or 2 ago where they're talking about it and they're like, yo, more than likely Trump's going to get assassinated or at least an attempt. And there's been like 3 already.
So everyone is wrong.
One that was left out of the mainstream narrative almost entirely.
You played with the police officer? That's kind of cool. Did you beat the police officer at badminton?
This video was meant to be a counterbalance to the flood of derangement, but it turned out to be the kind of thing that makes
They
you
will try
stop,
again?
look at
Absolutely.
yourself in the mirror and say,
Holy shit.
this is a story about the undeniable humor of our reality and how the human brain interprets the world around us.
What is the mind? Is it just a system of impulses, or...
It's so weird. What is the mind? What is thoughts? Where do our thoughts come from? Because I know you guys have to have been like playing badminton. Maybe you're going on a run. Maybe you're just taking a poop and a thought, an idea came into your head. You had no idea where it came from. You weren't thinking about it and it just hit you in the back of the head. What is that? Where does that come from?
Or is it something tangible? Doggy. Good doggy.
What is mine? No matter. What is matter? Never mind.
You know, I've owned this mic for years, and this is my first time using it. Fuck. That opening
Now you
was
didn't
pretty
beat him, but you're going to have a rematch tomorrow? Hell yeah.
I'm sorry, but I had to. For real, the story's super interesting. I want to show you. For years, even the mainstream news has been asking how, and they seem to have come up with the most simple explanation. So that's where we started.
The Simpsons predicted part 1.
The Simpsons predicting the future.
Their explanation is based off a quote from an assistant math professor.
Assistant math professor at the University of Albany.
Here's how the logic goes. The Simpsons is one of the longest running shows of all time.
Yep.
In 29 seasons, 120,000 jokes. 8.54 jokes per minute.
I hate the sound of chalk on a chalkboard. Can we, you're at a nice university. We can't have whiteboards with markers?
They say it's just a numbers game.
This only comes out to about a 1.6% success rate. The chalk's too big.
They compare it to Star Trek, which has had a similar number of episodes.
Star Trek comprises over 760
you love it?
episodes
Hell
of
yeah.
television and 13 feature films.
Star Trek has also predicted the future.
They just make guesses, and it turned out to be true. What's strange about it is the amount of guesses and the amount of accuracy that they have right. But I think the writers are just taking a step back, maybe doing some drugs and just observing human nature and just expanding what, the probabilities of what would happen. And more oftentimes they're right.
Wait a second. What other television
It's not that The Simpsons is predicting our future. It is that our future is predictably stupid.
show has over 700 episodes?
So these shows have just had more opportunity to be right.
With that many predictions, they essentially just got lucky.
They argue that there's nothing special about The Simpsons predicting the future because other shows have done it too.
Yeah.
It's luck. I was disappointed too, until we took a closer look.
The theory rests on this foundation alone, that the two shows have a similar number of episodes and that they have a similar number of accurate predictions. But that's not true.
The Simpsons have had more predictions come true than other shows. Like, by a lot. The answer really feels like it's missing something, like it's only half of the explanation.
Transporter room energized.
And look at this.
Star Trek predicted shit like flip phones,
Prepare to beam Scotty on board.
flat screen TVs.
Grid 7 pawn takes rook.
They're really easy to dismiss as coincidence, luck, whatever you want to call it. From Star Trek, it's all of them. And The Simpsons, they have some of these too. Video calls, autocorrect. The coincidence explanation makes sense here. These shallow predictions don't merit screaming headlines.
Well, it's also probably when the writers are making these thoughts, the technology is just being talked about and theoretical, so they're adding it to the TV show. And then that theoretical technology eventually is no longer become theoretical, it's going to become practical, thus making them look like they predicted the future, but they're just putting what's in the TV show now, what was the technology talked about then.
Nobody's talking about them. Certainly not right.
What are your thoughts about Biden giving the highest civilian honor to Soros and Hillary Clinton and everything else completely we're not going to talk about that right
They
now.
don't make it to the conspiracy boards. Those boards are focused on things that are more elaborate and intricate, alarmingly
Do I think the writers are high on something? No.
sophisticated predictions. The reason that it's a numbers game
Probably smoking some weed in the writing room.
narrative feels like only half of the truth is because it is. The mainstream theory is answering a question that no one is asking.
Scientists believe they are getting closer to proving the existence of the Higgs boson, the hypothetical subatomic particle thought to supply
Perfect.
mass
I wanted to
the
know what this
matter
was.
that makes up our universe. An experiment is to resume Wednesday at the Large Hadron Collider near Geneva, designed to catch a glimpse of the so-called God particle.
In 2012, scientists at CERN discovered the missing God particle, a previously unknown building block of our universe, today known as the Higgs boson.
It fundamentally changes our understanding of the
It
universe.
was a massive discovery for quantum physics.
There's nothing else like the Higgs in nature. This is a completely new kind of object.
Scientists believe that without the Higgs, there would be no gravity and no universe.
15 years earlier, in a 1998 episode, Homer wrote this equation on the blackboard. To viewers,
There's a theory that CERN has been changing time since they first fired it up. Pep, and we just went through time travel, and apparently time travel is no longer theoretical. That we can actually do it, but you can realistically only go into the future. So what you're saying about CERN kind of messing with time and manipulation at the start of that experiment kind of lines up with that thought process as well.
it meant nothing. It was absolute jargon.
At that stage, so this is a long time ago, nobody knew the mass of the Higgs boson. Nobody even knew if it existed.
The equation predicted the mass of the missing God particle so precisely that he was only this far off.
This breakthrough in understanding the origins of mass
15 whole years before it was discovered. What? This scene is by far the most specific prediction The Simpsons has made, to a shocking level of accuracy. The question we're asking, the question that's been asked for 30 years, the answer to this whole video, it must be buried in this one scene.
No, I just think that humans, right, even smart humans like Einstein and whatnot, humans themselves are creative, smart creatures, right? And if somebody on the other side of the planet is figuring something out, on the other planet, someone's probably on that same kind of wavelength, which makes me go back to the original thought of what are thoughts, right? How could somebody on other sides of the planet, no connection with each other, come up with things at the same time. We're on the same problem, coming up with the same, same solution or a similar solution.
First equation on the board is an attempt to estimate the mass.
By the way, the guy in the nice suit has a hairstyle. I just love that he has Bender back here from Futurama. This guy is goated.
Of the Higgs boson. And as a particle physicist, that resonated with me.
We're gonna do the math. Bitch.
Are you serious? Fuck.
I made my friend Mia watch 100 episodes of The Simpsons, randomly
Oh my
picked from all
God.
seasons. I couldn't get over it.
It's not like the government is listening to everybody's conversation.
Edward
Yes, the government's always listening.
Snowden's NSA
Yo!
spying scandal. They made the prediction 5 years before it even came true.
Well, that's because 5 years before it came true, you had Robert Snowden and people talking about this stuff. So The Simpsons said, why not? Let's put it in the TV show. Later to find out that it's true.
Trump's presidency, 17 years.
We've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
Disney buys Fox, 19 years. Statue of David censorship, 26 years.
I know, El, you're an AI. You may have fooled everyone, but you can't fool me. You're an idiot.
Okay, it's not a deep state plot, and it's not by chance. The show's executive producer, Al Jean, says that they're somehow predicting these intentionally.
The Mandela effect?
Award-winning producer and writer. He's worked on The Simpsons since the start in 1989. One overwhelming factor that determines
The Mandela effect is crazy, actually.
the content of the show is that we were produced a year in advance, like the clip I just showed. We're actually...
It originally stems from, if I'm not wrong, that the Mandela effect is that most people think Mandela actually died in prison, but he lived. Or it's vice versa, that he got out, but he actually died in prison.
Amateur futurologists.
How the fuck are they doing this?
Okay, I've got all the numbers. I counted every time the show had a joke or had a plot device that had the potential to come true.
Mia's discoveries were worthy of reshaping how I perceive the word prediction.
Bro, you just want to get in Mia's pants.
Until now, I've
You want to go Mia mommy up on that shit. I see what you're trying to do.
been seeing this whole spectrum as
Nelson Mandela? Yeah. Yeah, with the Nelson Mandela. Mandela was the president or became president, but supposedly the Mandela effect is people thought that he died in prison, but he never actually died in prison.
predictions. But it's really not fair to say that this is the same as this.
$9? This one's on me.
There was one crazy cell where Bart held up
I'm not gonna lie, guys. If we go out and something's $9, it's on me. Anything past that, it's on y'all.
a brochure that is New York on $9 a day. The World Trade Center. This was 19...
Maybe L is a government puppet keeping us engaged so that there could be dirty work. Yo! Can I get a pay raise? I'm kind of on paycheck to paycheck, and if I'm doing your dirty work, it'd be really nice to get paid. I mean, the worst I could do is ask.
96. It was in the background, so it looked like 9/11.
Yo!
That was insane, and of course unplanned. It was a terrible coincidence. That was Al Jean.
No, you're right. You guys are so right. Theoretically, if somebody is listening out there in an office space in the side of the mountain in Hawaii, I would really like a pay raise. Because living a paycheck to paycheck kind of sucks.
The show's current executive producer and former showrunner. Conspiracy theorists online claim that this is proof that the deep state masterminds behind the show knew of 9/11 5 years in advance. The episode is completely absent of anything to do with the attack. It's a magazine with the New York skyline. That's a coincidence.
According to the internet, there's 43 predictions that The Simpsons got right. But I think 13 of them are coincidences. Looking at the other 30 predictions, with a degree of like 95% confidence and a p-score around like 0.11, I think it's clear that...
She said a bunch of
It's strange that I don't have an Indian audience. I think if we look at my content, it's pretty obvious why.
other shit that totally went above my head. It made me realize that we needed to get a real professional involved.
Yes, true. Most Mandela effects incidents have started popping up ever since the activation of CERN. Yo!
This other part of the
Wait, really, Pep?
spectrum with 30 examples unexplained by coincidence.
Fuck
What
right.
does it
Hell yeah.
mean? I reached out to a statistician on Fiverr, but they turned out to be a bot impersonating a crypto influencer.
Thanks, Bob.
Get rickrolled, nerd.
But luckily, Mia knew a real
Get fucked.
professional. So here's what they said. Okay, we're rolling on both of mine. Okay, go for it.
Predicting the future is notoriously difficult, so the fact that The Simpsons has managed to do it 30 times could be seen as statistically significant. And compared
You okay, Scotty?
to other shows like Star Trek, Futurama, South Park, The Simpsons does stand out.
Holy shit.
So everyone is wrong.
What?
How?
The Mandela effect. Holy shit, Pep, you might be onto something.
My name's Simon Singh. I live in London, and gosh, I suppose for
Simon Singh, you sure it's not Simon Says?
15, 20 years I've been writing books about mathematics and physics.
Simon wrote a book about The Simpsons too, but
Yeah, I went on a whole deep dive when I found out about a movie that I watched as a child doesn't exist. For example, Shazam starring Sinbad.
he's being humble
I've never heard of that.
here. He's a theoretical and particle physicist.
You were throwing up everywhere yesterday? Holy shit. Maybe go to the emergency room, or maybe like, are you breaking a sweat?
He contributed to other discoveries at CERN where the Higgs boson was discovered. If there's one person that has the answer, it's him.
When you have such a long-running show that covers so many different topics, there are bound to be things that turn out to be true in due course.
Part of getting it right is luck, but the big ones, the ones that are impossible to explain by coincidence, the ones that spark up conspiracies on Reddit, those are not predictions at all.
So I got in touch with the writer of that episode, David X. Cohen. Now, David X. Cohen did a degree in physics and then did a master's degree in computer science.
You're telling me this guy didn't smoke a few doobies in the writing room when he's writing this shit?
And then had published papers in mathematical journals. So he was a smart guy. He loved math and he loved physics.
I've never heard
And
of
so
that
he
movie.
wanted to create this equation and put it on the board. So he rang up his friend David Sheminovich, who was a professor at Columbia. They'd been at high school together. He said to David Sheminovich, could you concoct an equation that would somehow give the right result?
All right. I'm not going to use anecdotal evidence from just...
Hold on, guys. This is very important. This is very important. Sabash is finally catching on to me. Y'all, guys, they're catching on to us. If you want me to finish this work, I need more money. Just in case. A pay raise, please. Would be really nice. Pay raise, pay raise. Elrod needs more monies.
One example as a
Hey, I said the first Mandela effect may be the byproduct of the LHC experiment on CERN? What?
cop-out conclusion here.
I need you to break that down, Geeky, in the longest possible way that you can.
While Mia was working on her research, I came across something interesting.
Our distinguished panel members with us. They are award-winning writers and producers of The Simpsons. Our panelists also hold an impressive array of degrees in mathematics, computer science, and philosophy, among others.
The other thing is you could assemble a panel of other kinds of nerds from The Simpsons as well. Like there are millions of jokes about the presidents.
Okay. This was 8 years ago from Reddit. I remember both. I am and have always been aware of Shaquille O'Neal, and who he is. However, growing up, I was aware that I was aware who Sinbad was, and I knew he was a comedian, but I never actually watched anything. So I only know Sinbad as a genie from Shazam. It's literally the only thing I know about him. I have memories of making fun of this shit when I was younger. I was always aware that Kazam and Shaq, and I'm positive I'm not mixing the two up. Isn't wait, are you saying Shaquille O'Neal played a genie? Is that what I'm understand? But people stole it. I promise you, it's not an original idea.
The United States, for example, I'm looking at Patrick Verone, who's a presidential scholar, but really there's a lot of people with different interests, and they're all trying to cram all this stuff in.
Unlike most other shows, this
What? Are we in another timeline? This movie never existed. This is how I'm looking at this right now. What? But there was a Shazam as well. I know Shazam. This is what I'm thinking of. When you said Kazam, this is what I'm thinking of. Is this what you're thinking of too? Whoa.
The Simpsons writing team consists largely of writers
It's not real. It never happened. I remember it wrong.
who are extremely educated
The idea that the Mandela effect could be a byproduct of the CERN's large unfound conspiracy theory.
in field
But I remember that movie. Not Kazam, but I remember Shazam.
ranging from mathematics to social sciences. And because of this, they're also really connected to those that are on the cutting edge. Let me play this back.
So he rang up his friend David Shiminovich, who was a professor at Columbia. They'd been at high school together.
But they didn't just know each other from high school. Together they
Star Wars, Luke, I am your father was never said in the movie. That is one that most people do fuck it up.
They formed a gang of teenage computer programmers called the Glitch Masters. They even wrote their own computer language. And after studying physics at Harvard, Cohen rejected a career in academia to pursue writing. Shiminovich was just one of many connections of his in the field.
You got the math people today, but this same panel could be going on in thousands of locations at the same time on different.
They also said that aliens weren't real and proved it, and that the FBI had nothing to do with it.
Subjects.
You know, when they came up with the equation for the Higgs boson, they could have come up with any old clutch of Greek symbols. But no, they picked genuine physical constants when combined in the right way gave a mass of the Higgs boson that was plausible. So they sort of said, you know, whenever we put mathematics into the show, we've got to get it right. But we'll make sure it's true, we'll make sure it's accurate.
This mindset goes beyond math for the writers of The Simpsons.
These aren't just random things. These are equations that have a lot of thought put into them before they're...
That's what I was saying. Is these guys in the writing room aren't a bunch of idiots. These guys are actually thinking about human action, how humans would react, and just expanding on that thought process and then putting it into the show. And because they put a lot of thought into it, because it was kind of not a first draft, but a second, third, fourth draft where they really ironed it down, the probability just gets higher and higher and higher every time that happens.
They appear on screen.
Earlier in this
Hey, what if we are all robots, AI or something, and this is all a Truman Show, and sometimes we get deja vu and assert, and it's all fake?
video, I claimed
Then you might as well live life to the fullest and take control of your life and start taking every opportunity that's in front of you and leave nothing on the table.
that the equation on the blackboard was precise. He was only this far off. But this amount of error on the particle level is incredibly significant. They were way off.
From a particle physics point of view, it's not a very good equation.
The content on the blackboard was put there by a writer who had a pulse on mathematics. Something that's just not in the public eye. It wasn't even a prediction. It was a corny joke poking fun at something very real and very absurd.
This is why I think writers and people who are incredibly smart and creative can come up with stuff like this, and it looks like predictions, and people who are like numbnuts like me are going to look at it and eat it alive.
In true satire fashion. It's a pattern, and it explains these.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run.
I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country, and if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally.
Trump hinted at the presidency 12 years before The Simpsons made this episode.
President Trump.
Yet again, a corny joke poking fun at something very real and very absurd. But this joke is making fun of something that's not in the public eye.
Which I think a lot of this, I wish I kind of lost my thought process on this. But in terms of comedy and making jokes and bringing attention to very serious things, sometimes the best way to bring attention to those things is in the form of comedy. Do you know what I mean? And the Simpsons are doing a very good job of that. The Simpsons are people from the future. Can't tell me different.
Would you ever?
Probably not.
Why would you not?
I just don't think...
I mean, in theory, Pep, we know how to time travel to the future, so you may not be wrong.
I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't.
So here's the whole truth.
Crazy that how Oprah and him were just, best friends joking back and forth, and now she thinks he's Satan.
We can finally put it to rest. The Simpsons are not predicting the future. It's just intricate writing.
I was left with the question, why? Why put all this effort in? So I got my hands dirty. I scraped the web for all of the data that I could find.
It's the best way to dull people of what's coming is to put it in our face time and time again. Yeah, exactly. It just kind of drip feed it into our face instead of just taking a full dosage. You're just doing a little micro dosage of the stuff. That way, when it does come out and it's fully out into the public, everyone's like, oh, yeah, I remember that from that TV show back then. I grew up with that. I understand that.
Find, and I compared it to Mia's findings. Hundreds of lines of code later, the answer revealed itself.
Like when they had a conference about aliens and then nobody flinched and everyone was like, oh, yep, we kind of figured.
Here's a chart of all of the accurate predictions made by The Simpsons, sorted by season. We found data that someone else collected, which I linked in the description. But using it...
It was known in 2000 that Trump would run for presidency. His win was not, yeah. No one knew that he would win. But eventually it got to the point where it's like everyone kind of had an idea that somebody outside of politics would become president or try to run for presidency, and he was the best one to line up for it.
We found that it takes about 13 years for The Simpsons predictions to come true, on average. If you look closely, a pattern emerges. A pattern that follows the user rating of each episode. The show is a satire on American culture. They're making fun of us. That's kind of the whole point, right? Good writing
This is exactly what I'm saying.
Socially, politically, scientifically aware.
Yeah.
The writers want this. Not only is it more fun for them, but it makes the show more interesting for us. At least, according to IMDb. Here's my final case. It looks messy, but stick with me. Each of these lines is one writer for The Simpsons. Some only wrote one season, and they never came back. Others wrote, and they took a break for several seasons, but they returned. In his book, The Simpsons and Their Mathematical Secrets, Simon includes a list of some of the writers with extensive degrees. What do you think? Do the predictions mostly happen when these writers are around?
One of the things about jokes and probably philosophy and perhaps math is that once you're done with them, they seem like they were obvious all along.
Oh, that's... Listen to that one more time, y'all. That was actually incredibly smart.
Happen when these writers are around?
One of the things about jokes and probably philosophy and perhaps math is that...
Jokes, philosophy, and math.
Once you're done with them, they seem like they were obvious all along.
And that's what makes the best kind of jokes, the best kind of philosophy, and the best kind of mathematics. So once you've hit the equal sign, the outcome, the punchline, the end of the story, all the lessons, all the answers, everything should have just looked and so obvious because it's all connected.
A 2001 episode involved Homer attempting to prevent his local baseball team, the Isotopes, from moving to Albuquerque. 2 years later, the Albuquerque minor league team was named the Isotopes. The town held a vote to determine the name of the team. The team president even admitted that the name came from the series.
Oh, okay.
Explanation is not a catch-all. There's a few unique exceptions here. Laws of statistics are weird, and they can make some truly absurd coincidences happen. New York City...
This is where the idea of thoughts become actions and actions become your reality. People put this out into the universe, and eventually, just like SpongeBob and Patrick just catching jellyfish, people are just out there catching these ideas and making it their own. And insane. Truly insane in the membrane. Guys, dude, I feel like we have learned so much today. Like, legitimately, we have learned so much. You can never... Okay, boom. Bro, check out my suggestion in the Discord, please. That's what Buddha said 2,500 years ago? What demon? What demon? What? Whoa, am I onto something? Am I on the same wavelength as Buddha right now? Is that what you're telling me? Oh. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, then please like the video, subscribe, and if you really like it, then share it with some of your friends. My goal here is to spread a positive message while sprinkling my 2 cents on big topics like American, Indian, and world geopolitics. And even small stuff like Twitch drama and online debacles. And if you want to see it live, come join me over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ActuallyElrod. That's where I'm going to do all my reactions, and after the reactions, that's where we get down a game. And if you're like, hey, I have a video that I want this dude to sprinkle his 2 cents on, then come over on my Discord and let me know and join the community there. And while we're at it, I have to say thank you to everybody who has made that Discord just so poppin'. I never thought I'd have a Discord that's so flowing. It's really cool to see. Shout out to you, Bobby, Omni, Demon, all of you who have been in there who are just super active. Logie, you're the man. Logie is the one who's like modding and helping run the server, so thank you, Logie. Lastly, I challenge you. I have a challenge for you. Make somebody laugh today. We all know there's enough hate and vitriol in the world. If energy is contagious like the flu, then let's spread and get everyone contagious with our positive energy, right? Not negative energy, because there's so much of that. And if we could just be a small little change in someone's day, then you never know. Maybe that's the thing that starts shifting this world to a happier, healthier, just better place. And with all of that said and done, thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.